two ninjas spoiling movies.
Yeah,
Brandon Collins.
that's me.
It's just a brand for your movie needs. Medium popcorn.
Woo!
You haven't seen it, well, we're gonna spoil it.
Who's the master?
Well, that's your warning.
Uh.
And if you get pissed, it's all your fault. Ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh.
Ooh, everybody. It's Brandon / Eddie Collins.
Guys, it's Justin Brown. What's up?
I forgot my hidden name. We're Medium Popcorn, as always, and it's Halloween season, so we're just continuing the pain. The pain just gets deeper and deeper with these wounds in our eyes. We're reviewing the Egger brothers front room, starring Brandy, Andrew Burnap, and Catherine Hunter in a very this is a wild performance as a Solange. Man, Justin, how would you describe this movie? If someone was like, "Hey, tell me this movie in 3 sentences," what would you say?
I only need one, and I only need one word: pointless.
Okay.
Pointless. This film did not need to be made because, for the most part, nothing happened.
It was very odd because the conclusion of this film, and folks, remember we spoil movies. I was like, you could have done that like after week 1. Like the woman Solange is in bad enough physical shape, and mind you, you don't have the budget. Like, apparently, you don't have the budget to hire a home aide or a professional. So she was bound to probably pass really fast.
So here's the thing. Well, first of all, it seemed like she did give them a lot of money.
At the end.
No. It seemed like when she was writing on that paper, it started with a 4 because just seeing how her hand moved, and like there were many zeros behind it, and they were just like, "We need the money." Like they made it so, like this is money that we cannot refuse.
Yes, but that's when Belinda, played by Brandy, and Tati kept like emphasizing this. She's like, "This is her fault," because even with the number that Solange wrote after the father's passed, and she's basically asking the son and Belinda to take her in, the son is still like, we shouldn't do this. Like that's how fucking scared he is of this woman.
True.
He's like, even with like, I know we're in financial straits. I know you could barely afford a can of paint, right? But she is that evil.
Yeah,
and they still did it. I mean,
but you know what, Brandon, I'm about to say something that's a little bit controversial here, but a lot of the things that were going on in this, and like how it kind of escalated, is Brandy's fault, because in
that's what I said. Belinda's to blame for everything.
No, but she is the one that escalated it to the next level. It's like, yeah, you have an overbearing mother, stepmother, mother-in-law, whatever, stepmother-in-law in your house or whatever. But in a lot of ways, Brandy took it to the next level. It's just like this woman being crazy. She's an old woman and she's crazy. It is what it is.
Yes.
But if you really pay attention to the way that Brandy was acting, it was just like, it's actually not on her, it's on you.
I mean, they both.
I mean, yes, she stepped out of bounds. I'm not saying she didn't, but Brandy was also a problem.
Well, that's for me. This is what was frustrating about watching this movie, because at first I was like, 1, who is this for? 2, this wasn't the Get Out that the A24 and the marketing team tried to make it seem like, because in a way, Belinda, again, it brought her on herself, and there wasn't enough reflection for Belinda to realize, like, oh, I brought this hatred into the house. Like, her husband Norman is so like he's just like, I don't even want to go to the funeral for my father. He barely wants to do that. Belinda encourages him to go. Then they meet his creepy ass mom, who's so skinny she needs 2 fucking canes to get around. The fact that they were like going to give her a room upstairs, Tati and I were already like, well, that's insane. Why would you think that she's capable of going up and downstairs?
Yeah.
When she needs two canes, it's like, you got to give her this room downstairs. Also, why would you want your baby to be in a room that far away from you? That's insane.
Yes.
Like, there were so many things where we're like, what?
It's like, so y'all telling me, so obviously they had a son before who died.
Yeah.
Who passed. And they don't say how or anything like that. He just passed. But you're telling me that after having a baby, so this is your second time parents, that you think it is in your best interest to go up and down the stairs every time the baby cries at night? You think that's a good idea? That's fucking ridiculous. Also, on top of that, most people, the baby's going to be in the same room with you for the first few months because the baby has to feed. The baby's crying, and she's breastfeeding. The baby's crying and things like that. You ain't got time to be headed out to the other room. You're bringing the baby in bed with you, feed him, and then you put him back in this bassinet, or you go and sit in your rocker or something like that. You ain't going to another room. You transition the baby into that other room as they get a little bit older, or if the baby is more like bottle fed. But even so, those first, like, you're trying to grasp onto any little ounce of sleep that you can. So like when they was like, oh yeah, we're gonna put you across the street, across the hall from us. I'm just like, why would you want that woman across the hall from you anyways?
Yeah, no. Especially when because you haven't lived with her. You don't know how she acts, and she'd be moaning all throughout the night. She's like, "Oh, my body, help me, please, blender," because that's what she calls her.
Blender, MESS, mess.
I mean, this movie isn't good, but Catherine Hunter fucking saves this movie. Like, she doesn't save the movie because it's still terrible, but she
gives a decent.
She gives 100%.
Yeah.
In that role, it's fucking terrifying. She's so creepy, and and it is sad because it doesn't do it well, but it tries to touch on like how to care for elderly parents who maybe haven't done right by you as a child. Yeah. Right. And that's what's fucked up about it, is like Norman and Belinda clearly never really talked about family. They never really talked about those expectations, things like that. Like from the beginning of like Tati and I like really becoming serious, she was very clear about her culture and like what that means for like how they support family and stuff like that. And I was just kind of like, yeah, my family was very improvisational with that shit. Like there's no real things that we, tied to that we feel committed or burdened to, because honestly, I was taught to never be a burden. So a lot of my family feels that same way. And that's why I'm all fucking crazy. And so like, I think they clearly never talked about their families, because we don't learn about Belinda's family either. So we don't know what she was raised to believe in, taking care of elderly people and how to be. It was very odd that like Norma was like, I never really told you about how religious my father and my stepmom was. She was really abusive towards me, blah, blah, blah. I mean, and it's like, he's kind of hinting that it wasn't good. So when Belinda finds things like the Daughters of the Confederacy certificate, or like, that she's doing these microaggressions, like you said, Justin, she's incredibly old. She's a white Southern woman. Like there's gonna be questions, and she's rich, so they probably got that money from like some
wild shit. Wild shit. This is called just wild shit.
And so you're like, okay. And then, yes, I wasn't surprised when Solange was revealed to like be kind of fake and shit. Like she could walk around without the canes and stuff like that. Like it's a power move. Yeah. It's clearly that thing. But like your husband, though, Norman said everything she did was about having power over me.
Mm-hmm.
She always wanted me to know that I'm subservient to her. And so it's like, that's what was frustrating, is like, you can't have a protagonist that put herself in the situation. It's like, okay, Get Out is one thing, right? Where Daniel Kaluuya's character goes to the house with Rose. He's trying to like, he's trying to go like, get to know her family and stuff. But then there are moments where he's like, I gotta get out of here. Like there's moments when he's finally like, I gotta get out of here. She's just trying to complain to Norman and be like, yo, you got to come take care of your mom, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, he's the only one working because he quit your job, right? Mind you, she was getting microaggressions at her job, but it's like, you worked at a shitty university that was telling you, like, we ain't going to give you, we're not going to keep your job after you come back from maternity leave, basically.
So basically, and also on that, is just like, yo, ain't nobody just straight up quitting their job right before they have a baby. Because at the very least, you're going to get unemployment and you'll have your maternity leave. So why would you quit your job knowing that the baby is like, you know, weeks away. You suck that shit up. You suck that fucking shit up, and you handle business for your child.
Mm.
It's just like no mother is going to quit their job. Like what is it? Yeah, like Lluvia says in the chat, unless the job didn't offer maternity leave. But
We didn't get
I
enough insight as to what was
yeah,
really
that's
going
true.
on. We know that she wasn't tenure and that they were taking classes away from her because she was pregnant.
Yeah,
That's all we kind of learned. And then also, like, this white woman kept saying, like, people like you are so smart and so hardworking, unlike the others, like things like that, which I'm like, you could just report to HR that this woman's saying shit like this and record it.
yeah,
There's protections. It's 2024. Like, there's ways to work this shit to your advantage, Belinda. Like,
yeah.
that's what was frustrating about, especially like giving the rights that so many women have fought for in the workplace to
Mhm.
avoid shit like this. There are protections in place where you don't have to be in the situation. You got the Norman guy who's like fucking public defender who's trying to get a full-time job at a firm so he can like help and shit. That's why I was like, okay, if you were like, and it sucks, right? It's a really stressful situation.
Yeah,
And I can't imagine dealing with that stress because you're a new mother and now you have the elderly mother-in-law to take care of. But at the same time, like, you agree to this because clearly they don't get paid out until she passes.
yeah.
So this is our life now. We can't afford a homemade.
Mhm.
We can't afford a babysitter or like a nanny. So it is what it like. He's like, what do you want me to do? Like, when the mob starts shitting everywhere, which is so fucking disgusting. There's so many
Yeah,
shit scenes in this. It's like, for me, that is a tough position though, right? Because you're not like professionally prepared for this. Like, so it's like, I am clearly, Solange is just fucking terror because she wasn't the right mind. Well, she is a clear, sound mind. She pretends like she's not. But there's a moment where they have to like talk to her and be like, do you want to live out the rest of your days, like, at least with some semblance of dignity? Because right now you're putting us in a position where that's not going to happen.
yeah.
Like, imagine if they didn't have a washer and dryer in that house.
Mm.
She would be sitting in her shit for like a long time.
So uh
And why was she oozing yellow?
yeah, that
She's
was weird.
spitting yellow. She spit yellow at her son when she spit in his face. I was like, why is this movie unnecessarily gross?
Yeah, that was weird. It's just like almost like she just had phlegm just sitting there laying in wait. But it wasn't. But it wasn't like gelatinous like
It was
phlegm
like
typically
mustard.
is. Yeah, it's like she just spit mustard out of him. I was what are you, a baby? What are you, a baby? It's like, but that mustardy shit comes out of your ass, not your mouth. What's happening right now? If you don't know, baby shit mustard for the first
Yeah.
few months. But when I was a kid, my grandmother came to live with us. And because she had had a heart attack, so she couldn't live on her own. I mean, there is so much comedy with my with my grandmother.
As a
So,
kid, I'm sure. Yeah.
well, no, I was a teenager.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah,
still, you're not the immediate child who's living with
yeah.
their parent again. You know
No,
what I
no,
mean?
no, 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 no. There was so much comedy. Like we all would like my dad, including like we would all have to go somewhere else and we would snicker because like my grandmother would do these things that were unintentionally funny. And it was, whatever. But one time, I would tell the story on the podcast. Like my friend was over and we're kind of hanging out upstairs. My mom wasn't home yet, and we were, just hanging out upstairs. Whatever. My boy's just like, all right, man, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get home. And he walks downstairs because like he walks downstairs and he comes right back up. He's just like, yo, Justin, the whole downstairs smells like a fucking zoo, bro. I'm like, what do you mean?
Oh no.
Like, it smells like a fucking zoo. It's like, I think you need to go down there. It's like you got some shit to deal with. And he kind of chuckles.
Literally. He's
Yeah.
like, literally.
And he leaves the house. So I'm like, all right.
Oh, he left the house? That's when you know it's bad.
Yeah. He had to get out of there. Brandon, I came downstairs and it was like, you leave breadcrumbs to find your location. It would just piles of shit just had like through the living room on the rug towards the bathroom. I was just like, oh my God, what is going? And it literally smelled like it was horrendous.
I mean, that's what Solange did. She fucking smeared shit all over the walls and
Yeah,
stuff.
no, but I'm talking about piles of shit, small piles of shit.
Mind you, there's a period in this movie where Brandy has to clean up shit all over the house, and
Yes,
her shirt is covered in dry shit, and she's holding her baby. And I was like,
but like,
what the
nigga, what are you
fuck
doing?
are we doing? I was like, we have lost the plot here, everybody. I was like, costuming, time out. This is a black woman. This is a black woman, right? Brandy's supposed to be a black character, correct? Okay, okay. We got to straighten some shit out. Cut, cut, everybody.
Never in the history of blackness. Never in the history of blackness.
With Brandy and her braids and her hair like that, and as good as she was looking, she's not gonna walk around with a shit covered shirt and hold her baby.
Yeah. So, all right, let me finish this story.
Sorry. I got so upset thinking about
yes, that. Yes, I very much caught that as well. When she was cleaning off the picture with shit all over the front, I'm like, what? Why would that woman just like, oh, grab this picture, like, little shit on it? Anyhow, so apparently, my grandmother was eating this. It was a chocolate orange, but like it's like encased in like a wax paper, right? And she just thought it was a straight orange, so she just ate.
Oh no.
It's not funny. It's not funny. And listen, my mom Abel. I'm so sorry bringing this story to light. Well, it's hilarious. So she ate the whole thing, wax and all. And obviously, wax ain't supposed to go in your body. So, that's what led to her thing. But then I'm just like, I go, Mom Abel, what happened? And she goes, hey, the postman came in here, delivered a package, and he tracked that shit in on his shoe. And I was just like, I said, what? And she said it again. And obviously, she's embarrassed. She's embarrassed. She didn't want to say that she shit her pants, but she went the postman thing. I had to go upstairs and I had to close the door. And we laughed about this. Me and my brothers, we laughed about it. My mom came home and then that, became a whole thing. But like, I have stories from taking care of my grandmother, stuff like that. But it's also just one of those things where it's just like, it is what it is. It is what it is. You have an older person in the house. They're moving towards the end of their life.
Yeah.
Things happen, and but as a caregiver, that's what you have to do.
Yes.
And the way that she's calling her husband, like, you have to come home. I can't do this alone. It's like, bitch, you fucking said that we should do this. Like, you knew that you were going to be home alone. And like, yeah, you have the baby there too. And I know it's a lot, but at the same time, you put us in this situation. We don't have a really solid income at the home right now because you quit your job before paternity, before your maternity leave. So we have no other income but mine. It's like you have no other choice. Like, he can't come home. He's a lawyer.
Well, I mean, in the scenario you just posited, his first issue as a white man is you can't call your black white bitch. But
Well,
you gotta worry about that.
Listen,
But
I don't call my wife a bitch. I'm calling Brandy.
Brandy did the job. I honestly think that Brandy was solid in this performance. Like, she did the job of Belinda, how she's written. It's just Belinda's a terrible character.
Yeah, and this is a terrible movie. I mean, it's a terrible. I think it's not a well written movie.
No, not at all. But I think that her, Brandy and Catherine Hunter, they did the assignment. Whether or not the assignment was worth investing in, that's to be determined. But I think that for me, what was very frustrating about the whole situation was Norman keeps complaining too about the mom and how she's torturing him and all this stuff before he does a complete 180 and starts sympathizing with her. And I guess she says that his wife pushed her and fucked her up because she throws herself against the table and she's all bloodied and missing teeth and shit. Now she's fucked up. So I get him then starting to feel a little guilty, blah blah blah. But it's like, bro, before you were tortured so bad. If I were Belinda, I would have been like, when we're sitting next to each other in bed, I would have been like, hey, so we could easily just take her out. Like, just give her a peaceful death. We just put some in her like in her porridge or some shit, and she goes night night.
No, no, because then you
Oh
become the
yeah, you can't
monster.
put poison in her body. Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, but you also become the monster. She can't say that. She can't say that. She
True.
becomes a
Do you
monster.
think? Do you think? Okay, everyone, remember spoiler alert. Do you think Norman knows that she took the mom out though?
No, no, I don't think so.
It just is convenient because that night she happened to be like, "Why can't I just die? Why can't I just die?"
I
Hey,
mean, you can.
guess what? You got your wish because 8 hours later the sun came up and the life left your mouth.
Oh, your breath is gone. Your breath is gone, and your skin is gray. And your skin is gray.
I mean, he also is obviously a sound sleeper because she committed the murder. She smothered the mother-in-law, went back to bed, and then woke up, got the baby, went downstairs to feign like, "Oh my god, we just found your mom dead." Like he must have been knocked the fuck out.
Listen, man. If Paul wanted to kill my mama, she could have done it too. Because I mean, just saying, I sleep like that.
I sleep really. Does that piss her off though when the babies are crying, or like do
Oh
you wake
yeah.
up when the baby
Oh,
cries?
oh, she hates it. She hates it. I can sleep through anything. Yeah, yeah. I mean, she literally has to wake me up, and I'd be like, "Hey, Axel's crying. The baby's crying." I'm like, I go, I go take care of it, and then I just
Yeah,
come back and lay back down, and I'm dead asleep all immediately. Yeah,
I
but
think.
a really light sleeper.
Yeah, I'm really bad with that too. I think I've told this story in the podcast, before. But there's a period when we were in Astoria, and Tati went out with some friends, and she was out way later, like than I expected. But Tati has a habit sometimes. It's better now that we have the house, but when we were sharing the apartment, she had a bad habit of not taking her apartment key with her.
Mm,
And this night she didn't have her apartment key. Mind you, I've been chilling at home, having a little drink myself. So I was knocked out pretty early. Like I think I went to bed like
yeah.
11.
Mm,
She comes home around 3 in the morning, can't get in the apartment. And she called me, bro. She called me 92 times
yeah.
before her phone died. And then I finally woke up because I was just like, man, it's weird. Like, I don't feel Tati next. You know what I mean? Like when you're
Yeah.
used to that
Uh-huh.
energy and stuff, I was like, man, I don't feel it. And then I looked at my phone. It's like 4:30 in the morning. I see all these missed calls. It goes straight to voicemail. And she's texting me, like, where are you? Like, oh my God, like anything that could happen to me. She's like, I guess I'll just walk around the neighborhood until it's morning and you wake up. And so I'm like, okay, Tati's in the vicinity. So I just ran to different spots that were still open. Like, like the deli or like Dunkin' Donuts. I went to CVS because I was like, I know they're 24 hours. That's where I found her. But man, I felt
He
like
was so
shit.
mad. I
I
know she
felt
was
like
so
shit
mad.
for like at least a month. I was like, I felt so bad.
Well, I mean, but I don't know what to
Take
tell
your
you, man.
key. Take your key.
There you go. That's your own. Let me tell you.
But
I,
it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Like, because, 92 times.
yeah. No, but I mean, was your phone on? Because I put
My
my
shit was on
phone.
silent.
Yeah,
It was on silent.
yeah. I
Yeah.
always go on silent. My phone automatically goes on silent. I set a sleep schedule. It's just like, no, I don't want nobody bothering me. Well, also at the same time, Brandon, I don't know if you ever like I locked my so I was staying at my sister's apartment. I could be in the city. I have an audition the next day and shit like that, or working, and I realized I forgot my key or I left it in Long Island or New Jersey or wherever I was living at the time. So then I was just like, well, there's I'm just gonna I had to be in the city the next day. I'm like bum night. So I don't know if it's still on my social media, but it was basically me just trouncing around the city, just doing things in the middle of the night because I had nowhere else to go. And bro, Manhattan is dark when the lights go.
Oh yeah, yeah, dude. When I worked at Bubblegum Shrimp Company, I used to go out with everybody after work, which would be like 1:30 in the morning, because that's the last, like, after cleaning up and everything like that. And I'd be hitting the bars, taking the Port Authority bus back to New Jersey at like 4 in the morning. Yeah. That's like that's Night of the
bro,
Living Dead type of shit.
bro, I so many fucking dudes were trying to pick me up and shit like that. And like, yeah, bro, it was wild. I can't imagine like a young person being homeless on the street. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like you're constantly getting dick thrown at you. Like it was nuts. And it was what 6 hours? like 6 or 7 hours I was out there, and these dudes
You're
were
just swatting away dick, huh?
yes, I'm just what is going on? It was nuts, and it's like all different parts of the city. Because I was like, okay, I can't be here right now because
Were
it's
you
like,
walking around in booty shorts? What were you doing?
no,
I'm just like,
no, normal fucking clothes. He was just like,
not saying if you wear booty shorts that you deserve to have dick thrown at you. Everybody, I want to preface that. But
no, I mean, you don't look like a fucking, prostitute walking around these streets. Oh man, yeah, it was a wild night. It was a wild night, but like, yeah, I mean, I feel for Tati, but for her, it's obviously far more dangerous.
oh yeah, that's what scared me. That's what I was like. Astoria is a safe place, especially back then.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't like a. It was just the fact that my partner's out in the middle of the night, like nowhere to go, and as much as she says that she's ready to fight and stuff like that, she's still 4'11". So it's like it only takes a dude over 5'9" to be able to just pick you up like a Chucky doll. So it's we gotta be realistic here. Speaking of realism, that was an insane C-section scar they gave Brandy. Why they do that?
All right, so
because they don't do that anymore, right?
No, so
from the navel down.
Paul and I had this conversation because we were just like, wait a second, C-section, they cut you horizontally, they don't cut you vertically, and they typically is like right above the panty line, so it kind of blends in. And
that's
everything.
What Tati said. Yeah, that it might have been too graphic for them to try to show exactly where they need to cut.
But if there's trouble with the child, if the placenta is too low, there are instances where they cut vertically because it's easier to get to the baby because of the positioning. So it is a thing. But on the other end, why was that C-section scar kind of jagged? Was the doctor drunk? He was like, ah. Like that was the thing. I was just like who's your doctor? Michael J. Fox? Why is it kind of jagged and shit like that? It'd be a straight fucking line. That's the thing that bothered me about. But I had the same question though, so it is valid.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense too because the salon seemingly put some kind of curse on the baby. Because the baby, she pushes for the name to be Lori. Like she's manipulating a few things, and then she puts her hand on the belly and starts speaking in tongues, which
with three other white people.
Tati was like, "No, you don't do that. Not with I don't do with that shit." Because the mom's like, blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, and then Norma's just there like, ooh, like triggered and shit. And I'm like, yo, tell her to take your hand off the belly. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, immediately like, stop it right now. Stop it right now.
And in my notes, I wrote down, this is the first night. This is where we're starting, folks. That's why, like, after that, I was just like, I mean, I would kill her. I'm sorry. I would probably be like, we gotta figure something out.
Yeah. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. Because I mean, as a father of a child, I've been like, first of all, like you're doing too much. Take your hands off of her. Like I remember going out when Paul was pregnant, and like, don't put your hand on my wife's belly.
Yeah, man.
Person. Who are you?
And also, like, it shows how uneducated people are too about that stuff because. Also, you're not really supposed to let infant kids around pregnant women and like near their bellies, right? Because isn't there like that disease that kids can carry that gets into the infant? Fuck, I feel like it increases sudden
SIDS.
Yeah, I think that's a thing. Lluvia, can you look that up? Like the relationship between children around pregnant women and SIDS. I think that's like an actual thing.
I honestly, I don't think that's a thing. I think you may be thinking about cats. Pregnant women shouldn't be changing litter boxes as cats and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look.
Pregnant women shouldn't be caring for cats because cats carry, I guess cats or outdoor cats can carry this disease. There's nothing about children. They can't be around the children. Yeah, it's in their poop. Okay. So you change the litter box. There's nothing with other kids. It's like, hey, if you got a kid, quarantine that motherfucker. Put him on a rocket and send him to the moon until that baby comes out.
I feel like I read. I'll keep looking. I'll try to look it up later. But there's like some warning I remember reading about other children being around, like touching pregnant women's bellies and shit. Because
No, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. I think you're mistaking it with cats.
Okay, that's possible. Now I wonder what I learned.
People have two kids. It's like, wait, what?
Well, not like your children, I don't think. It just, I mean, anyways, like you don't know how other people are raising the kids. They could be dirty as hell.
Well, no, it's not even about other people. It's like a kid is one thing, but a grown adult doing that kind of stuff is just like, yo, take your hands off of her. Why are you in, like, even with the baby, like you have a little baby, people try to want to pinch the cheeks and get it all in the face. They try to kiss your baby. Like, hold on, stranger, don't touch my child in the face, close to its mouth, and don't kiss him because I don't know what you got. So like, little things like that. It's actually not a little thing. People just not reading the fucking room and understanding that like that's not okay. That's the kind of stuff. I'm just like, you need to back the fuck up before I straight fucking muff you right in your mouth.
Muff you?
Yeah, muff you.
I mean, Solange, I know we talk a lot about how Belinda put herself in the situation, but Solange also was escalated things, when they talk about the family, like, Belinda's family, the little bit we learned. And then like, she's like, well, we call that a broken family. She's like, well, my dad died. Like, it wasn't like, he ran off or like was addicted to crack or some shit.
Yeah,
like,
and they're both educators. They were both educated. like, oh, I'm so sorry.
And then she gets called a racist. She's like, now what? I would never want that word. Oh, Lordy. Like, it was very good, like Southern crocodile tears.
Yeah. No, those were white crocodile tears. Yes. Because you don't have to be Southern to do that kind of bullshit because I see it all the time.
That's true. And then didn't she call Belinda uppity Yankee?
Yes. I was like, just go there. Just call her uppity niggas.
Well, that's what Tati was wondering. She's like, why didn't she drop the N-bomb at least once? Like, it was like very interesting. Like, clearly they wanted to go that route, but maybe there was some in the editing and they were like, hey, actually we can keep this PG-13.
Or maybe Catherine Hunter didn't feel comfortable doing that.
It's possible, yeah. But if Leonardo DiCaprio can do it, Catherine, you can do it. I believe in you.
Drop them N-bombs, baby.
I can't believe like Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, I get it. If you're anxious about dropping N-bombs, right? But you're about to do it in front of Jamie Foxx and Samuel Jackson, the blackest brother alive. Like, I would be nervous too. But at the same time, it's like you signed up for a role that literally has nigger like in like every other like word you say.
Oh, you signed up for, well, I think it's beyond just a role. You signed up for a fucking Quentin Tarantino film.
True.
Like, you know how he rolls.
And you sign up for a role where Quentin Tarantino's like, yeah, there's literally like the worst villain I've ever written. There's nothing irredeemable about him.
Yeah.
And he talked about it. He had a villain as a Nazi. So like, you signed up for some shit. But I keep saying it again and again. Leonardo killed that shit. Like, I think he should have won. Like, I think it's so wild that like he didn't even get nominated for that role.
Has anyone won for a Tarantino film?
Oh yeah. Brad Pitt won for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Christoph Waltz won twice. He won for Django.
Yeah.
But he won for supporting actor, and that's what a lot of people were upset about because they're like, he kind of was the main actor.
Yeah.
Because Jamie Foxx is kind of technically supporting until the third act when he,
that's true.
He switches.
I don't know. I don't know. I think that Leonardo DiCaprio really deserves something for that because we also have not seen him in anything where he was that fucking despicable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you're going by, the Denzel thing where they're just like, oh, he's always so da 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 da, and all of a sudden he goes bad and then like he wins the Oscar for it. That's where Leo should have gotten his Oscar. But obviously that just shows that it wasn't the case. They, that's a whole story.
Yeah, exactly. I wrote down this dinner scene is madness. Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff that happened between Solange, Norman, and Belinda was just out of control. And this movie's only an hour and a half, but like you said earlier, like it's just a lot of redundancy, like a lot of just like, okay, it's just getting worse and worse between the three of them. Yeah. And then, at one point, Solange gets the whistle because her mouth is all fucked up because she threw herself on the table to blackmail Belinda.
Yeah, she would have broke her neck.
Yeah,
she's way too old to be pulling some shit like that.
Yeah, and she She bites the baby and blames on Belinda. Norman accuses Belinda, and then she's just like, "Look at the teeth marks. They're missing teeth, right? That's your mama." Like, it gets resolved very quickly.
Yeah.
It's just like he's just like, "You can't live here anymore, Salon." And then she's just like, "Oh, why won't I die?" Next day she's dead. And then the movie. It was just like, and then they get to move to a really nice house.
Yeah.
Life is good. She's pregnant with twins, which Tati was like, "Is that supposed to be the mom and husband reincarnated?" And I was like, we didn't even go deep enough into that, but it possibly because she kept doing the voodoo stuff on her on her belly. I don't know what the fuck she was doing.
So actually, after we, the fucking vertical C-section scar, if she has another kid, they have to be delivered by C-section. So once you get a vertical scar like that, you cannot do a vaginal birth. So therefore, she's gonna have to get cut open. They're gonna take 2 of them motherfuckers out of there. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Ugh. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, why would it go for? Why did it go twins? Oh my god. I don't know. That just hurt my heart just to even think about.
I don't know. It was it was interesting because it felt like there was a lot of things that they wanted to explore in the story and they just didn't. I don't know if it's like maybe it was cut from the movie itself or there's a previous drafts of the script that just like this stuff got lost. I know for our producer Lluvia, she didn't really find any trivia on this movie besides the fact that it had a box office take of $2.9 million and it's based on a short story of the same name by Susan Hill. That's all we really know.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't suspenseful. It wasn't scary. It was just gross and kind of frustrating.
Yeah. Yes. And like, it's funny because like I feel like I'm kind of desensitized to all like the shit stuff because I have kids. You know what I'm saying? Because so it was like, whatever. Shit's a part of life at that point. Shit happens, right?
We know, Justin. You've literally done back-to-back shit stories on this podcast. So
indeed, now I do things.
I don't know why you haven't done a book about shit. Honestly, it's a different angle.
Bad bowels in me.
No, you just call it the Brown Book. It works on so many levels.
But like, yeah, this was a frustrating film to watch because if like the characterization wise, if they just made not just minor adjustments to the way that they handled these situations, things would have went a completely different way. But then it's just boring. It's just boring. Not much does happen. And if this is considered a horror film, I would hate this. Like, oh, well, a psychological horror, but like there's nothing really scary about this or is really all that psychological. It's just a weird, it's a movie about a bad parental relationship. Actually, not parental. I guess
familial relations. It's just like what
happens
happens when you're stuck to take care of someone who you absolutely are terrified or despise.
Yeah.
And they're falling apart and it's straining your marriage, it's straining your safe haven, which is your home and things like that. Like they should have had more conversations and exploration of those things. And I'm thinking now, because Lluvia, our producer in the chat, asked, this doesn't seem like the typical A24 movie we get.
No.
I'm wondering, because I was wondering, like, I was like, why cast Brandy in this? Right? Like, what was that about? And, because we don't have any trivia, not quite sure. But I wonder if Brandy was able to deliver the goods on an emotional level to be able to cover some of the themes and stuff like that might have been covered in the script. I can see them going deeper into this stuff, and maybe she didn't agree with, I imagine Max and Sam Eggers might be white guys. And if that's the case, yeah, they look white. Yeah, they're very white guys. And so I don't know. I'm just speculating here, but it is a very, very tame A24 film for sure. I would say the past 2 years, all the A24 movies, this is one that felt least like it's shot like an A24 film. I will give it that. It's got this independent kind of like sense of dread that a lot of A24 films have. but none of like the dynamic acting or screenwriting that you expect from A24. Like A24 just gives you something different. It very, very rarely gives you something boring.
So I also think that part of it is a bit of the performance as well, because Brandy, I'm not going to say she did a terrible job with this, because I do think that it was serviceable,
Yeah.
but her reactions make horror films. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't think that she really gave us strong reactions to everything, which kind of subdued all the things that Solange was doing.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
she's not reacting big, or she's not really like telling the audience like, yo, we should all be shocked by this, then it kind of makes Solange's bullshit kind of mundane. So therefore, like, part of it for me was kind of Brandy's acting, in a sense, is like she wasn't giving me more to heighten, um, eh, you know, the fuck, to just make us all say like, okay, there's urgency here. This
Yeah.
needs to be fixed. This, something needs to be done. Husband, you need to fucking figure some shit out, because I wasn't getting that from her. So I'm just like, okay, so if these people don't necessarily care about this, why do we care? Is Brandy just overreacting? Is her character just overreacting? Or is
Yeah.
Solange really all that crazy? Because like she's not showing us that this is really all that bad.
Yeah, because Brandy also starts having these visions, which I guess is like more like, leaning towards the psychological stuff. But I guess it would have been interesting if they kind of, because of the stress of losing her first child, if maybe she was already seeing visions. And so her reality isn't quite clear to us as the audience of what's real and what's not. And so if you set that up before she even has brought in Solange to the house, then it's kind of like, well, is Solange really walking around without the canes? Or is that just her imagining and trying to make it a case to be mad at Solange or try to get her out the house now? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it could have been more interesting that way. I will say the end, the flash forward when like they're moving to a new house and stuff, and the husband's moving around, it sounds like the canes on the floor. I'd be like, yeah, that should freak me out too, because I would basically be like, yo, I'm being haunted by this chick.
Yeah.
Which would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Belinda, help me.
There's something really offsetting about people that like say your name in like a fucked up way. Like I had this old landlord before I had the place, the 2-bedroom in Astoria. I had a 1-bedroom off of 46th Street in Astoria, and my landlord used to always say, "Brandon, it's time for the rent." Even come to my door and say that shit. And so Tati occasionally will say it, and it like makes the hair on my arm, like it raises it and skin crawl and shit. It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah, somebody used to call me Justine. Like Justin, but Justine. Justine. And I hated it. Because it's just like, are you doing this on purpose? And like, people, names are important. And that's what it comes down to it. And people love to hear their names. But also, there's nothing more frustrating when someone's butchering your fucking name.
Oh, we know, Justin. Yeah. I know personally. I've been dealing with this for a long time, trying to get better. UVR producer in the chat asked, the last A24 film we reviewed was Civil War. The movie seemed like it misled audiences with the trailers. Do you think this movie did the same sort of thing? I remember only seeing one trailer for this, but I do think in regards to tone and vibe, yeah, it wasn't what it made it seem like, which is like this interesting get out where this black woman brings this racist white woman into her house and she's like fucking with her. It was more straightforward than that. And honestly, like you said, Justin, it's like boring because it's like there's some solutions to these problems. And very easy. I mean, they're not easy because you have to have difficult conversations and probably lose the money that you had already spent in your mind. And Brandy, you're probably going to get a job soon after you had this baby. But, it's because, I mean, immediately if I saw my husband as uncomfortable as Norman was when they brought Solange into the house, I would be like, this isn't good for your mental health. In our home, our house is supposed to be our sanctuary. Our house is supposed to be the place where we are able to mentally reset and rejuvenate and feel like safe and comfortable. Like we shouldn't be bringing, even if it's family, we shouldn't be bringing people into our space that make us uncomfortable. That's one of the reasons why, like, I'm estranged with some family members because I'm like, this isn't good for my mental health. Like this doesn't help me. right? Like, blood is blood, but it's like if you're also making my blood boil because I'm having anxiety attacks and shit, like that's not good either.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so it's interesting because they just never talked about this stuff. Like even as we're not like we've gone deep on these topics, but we've talked about it more than we saw these characters did.
Yeah. It's funny because like I once I saw that Brandy was in this, I was just like, well, I mean, this is not going to be anything, you know, like this crazy film that I'm really looking forward to because nothing about Brandy, in her career and her very short acting career told me it was just like, yo, I should be jazzed about seeing Brandy in this film. You know what I'm saying? So my expectations were pretty low for it.
Mm.
So like I really wasn't thrown off by the trailers or anything like that. It was like, whatever. We'll see what this thing is. I think for me, it's just the fact is that if my expectations were low for this, and then you even delivered lower, far lower than those expectations, and didn't give me anything to bring that up, I was like, this is just a dud across the board, and it makes me question. It's like, why did you even make this film? Because essentially, this is almost Tubi level. If it wasn't for the fact of Catherine Hunter, her performance in this, which was weird, and
Tati loved it. She's like, this movie sucks, but she was great.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, if it wasn't for her, it was just like this movie is unwatchable.
Yes.
This is like pure Tubi. That's the only thing that keeps it out of the Tubi realm. You know what I'm saying? Anybody could have done what Brandy did in this film. So, as far as do I think the trailer is kind of like, I think the trailer is just what is the best that they could give us and just trying to hype this thing up. But overall, there just wasn't delivery, in any aspect of it other than Catherine Hunter. But even so, that's not going to be enough.
Yeah, and I think to your point earlier that you made, because I look at the poster and it says all hell moves in. Two things that you made that are really good points. One is Brandy isn't very expressionless. Even her music, it's very like, I don't want to say monotone, but she's not going crazy with the lyrics and like a bunch of different levels and stuff. It's pretty straightforward, like on the same level, all her songs, right? But then two, the log line, all hell moves in. So basically they're positing, and this is where you get fucked up because people that have elderly people in their lives just know you become incontinent. That just is something that happens, especially if you have like dementia or Alzheimer's, it just happens, right? People lose control of their bodily functions all the time. Mm-hmm. And so they're positing that finding shit and urine and bloody sheets and stuff like that consistently, that's the horror.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe Solange is overdoing it and she's doing it on purpose, but at the same time, this does happen. And I was a bit frustrated that it took Norman, I think, like 2 days after these incidents for him to finally get the pens. I was like, bro, that should have been
for day one.
Who was taking care of her before this? Because I'm like, there should have been a list of things like, here's her like routine. Here's the things that she needs in order to be successful. They should have already known a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
Before she even moved in, they should have already known like she can't be upstairs. Like it just didn't make any sense. Like if I'm having those conversations about my papa just being in a facility, like there's no way with the money that she had available that no one gave her a breakdown of what her care was, or like what she, even for her, like, did she want to be miserable? Did she want Belinda to kill her? Like, what was she hoping to do?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. We never really, because I'm like, why would you want to voluntarily go with this kid your stepson, who clearly hates you, who's been doing, like, he hasn't talked to you in what, 10 plus years, maybe even longer. You want to live with him and his black wife as a daughter of the Confederacy, and then you want to live out the rest of your days? Like, it just didn't make any sense. And I'm like, we don't even know what Solange's motive was in all of this. So we're just going into this blind. We get no context about anything. And then the movie's just like, oh, that was a mind fuck, wasn't it? It's like, you didn't do anything to fuck my mind. You barely even like stimulated it with any creative content.
Lube me up first.
Yeah, they didn't even tickle the balls. They barely even took off my pants.
Mm-hmm. They did. They just giving you an over the drawers rub.
That's what they did. It's just a quick swipe where you're like, did that happen? Did that just happen? Am I violated? Or was that supposed to feel good? Like, what just happened?
Or did you ask for it,
Well, boy. Oh boy, Justin. Oh well. Well, on that note, break down our rating system, I guess.
Okay, Brandon, you know how we do this. We rate movies bags of popcorn, small, medium, large, the XL for the exceptional. If a film doesn't deserve any popcorn, any fresh, buttery popcorn, rather, we throw it into the stale popcorn pile. We pile piles and piles of stale popcorn at the top of it. So, Brandon, we watched the psychological thriller of 2024, The Front Room, starring Brandy Norwood, right? And Catherine Hunter, because those are the only people who really matter in this. What say you, sir?
Yeah, this I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I wanted to, and yeah, it just was frustrating. Catherine Hunter's performance, I think, is completely wasted. Now, the more I've talked about it and the more I've analyzed it, the more before it was teetering on maybe a medium just because of Catherine Hunter's performance alone. Now it's like, no, this has to get stale popcorn. This is not executed well. I don't know if it's in the script and things got lost. I don't know if it's in the editing. I don't know if it's that Brandy just couldn't carry this movie, but it just did not come together. It's not interesting. It's not remotely scary. I almost feel like this doesn't count as a horror film for this month, but it's going to, folks, because we're not going to keep adding on shit to torture ourselves. But I was very confused at the end of this movie. I'm like, that's it. No wonder this movie bombed and no one saw it. Um, and that's probably why she didn't really do promo for it, because she probably knew that it was lame.
Yeah.
You're not gonna go on black podcasts and like outlets and promote this movie, and people are gonna be like, "Sis, what the fuck was that?"
Yeah, because we're gonna let you know.
Your character did that to themselves. That's like, yeah, it's insane. That's like if the Daniel Kaluuya character in Get Out and Rose, they were actually inviting her family to their place, and Rose is like, "You don't want to be my family." Like, or like when they're going to the family, she's like, "Before we leave, my family's fucking crazy. Are you sure you want to go?" And Daniel Kaluuya's like, "Yeah, let's still go." Like that's what this movie like set up.
No. Because a lot of people say that family's crazy and they're not really all that crazy. This would be like if he was like, "Hey, my dad's gonna steal your body."
Like she just laid out the whole plaid.
Yeah, like my dad's gonna try to steal your body and put a white person in it. It's like, are you sure you want to do this? And he was just like, "Listen, baby, I love you." And sometimes I like to have a white person inside of me for once. Yeah, that's kind of the level of craziness if you're gonna go blow for blow. But for me, yeah, I'm gonna give this. This is stale popcorn. This is nothing but stale popcorn. For one, I didn't believe a lot of the relationships in this film because so the actor that played Norman, Andrew Burnip, um, I didn't believe his relationship, you know, with Catherine Hunter as his mom or as his stepmom because he didn't give us enough. I didn't believe his relationship with Brandy because it seemed everything like a mismatch. The pastor, that whole thing was weird, and then just
Yeah.
Brandy and Catherine Hunter, like I think that's the only thing that like I guess is kind of believable, but still all at the same time there wasn't enough there to really create the conflict that they were trying to make this a psychological horror as opposed to it's just like, oh, these are just two people don't get along because they're from two different places and not even just where they live but like eras of time and things like that. This is it, like we didn't need this story. That's what it came down. We just didn't need this story.
We didn't need the story, but you needed this podcast. As always, folks, you can follow us at Medium P Podcast on all social media platforms. Go to youtube.com/medium popcorn, push that subscribe button, and join us in New York City on Thursday, October 17th at Caveat NYC. We're doing a live screening of Tales from the Crypt Demon Night. You can get tickets for that at mediumpopcorn.com. But if you're going to miss that, join us on Saturday, November 9th at the 12th Annual Urban Action Showcase. Tickets are also available for that at mediumpopcorn.com. And, if you want to continue supporting the show, come check out my Drunk Black History Show as part of the New York Comedy Festival on Friday, November 8th. Tickets are available at protoblackens.com as well as other show details. I got a bunch of stuff popping up. So Proto_Blackens on Instagram and Threads. And just not people follow you as well. Support the show financially if they choose to do so.
Guys, you can follow me at J Brown Did It on all the socials. And guys, support this show on Patreon, patreon.com/medium popcorn. We have $2, $5, $10, and $15 package over there on Patreon. So if you love this show and you want backlogs, you want more, just want more and more and more, Patreon where it's at, patreon.com/medium popcorn. But also, guys, I just want to give a nice quick shout out to my older brother, Jason. My older brother, Jason, he just had his first baby on the 1st
Shout out
October.
to Jason.
So I just want to, show a little spooky, because a little spooky love to Jason, because it's October. He's had his first baby. He got October baby. So welcoming young Adonis to the Brown family.
Adonis Creed. Yes,
yes, indeed.
Hopefully, he has a friend that gets him locked up in juvie, and then he has to beat up on an old Italian dude.
That would be his cousin Axel.
Oh God! Don't put that on these kids.
They have to fight later on. He's a little old.
Right.
Come on now.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much, as always, for your support. Remember, patreon.com/media popcorn. Support the show financially if you can spare a penny or two. And if not, leave us a voicemail. Speakpipe.com/media popcorn. Let us know what you've been thinking about these Halloween episodes and what you'd like us to talk about in the future episodes and stuff. All right, y'all. On that note, talk to y'all soon. And take care of yourselves.
And each other.
Mm-hmm. Peace.